by the petulant prince that if he is ever to get back on talking terms with his family, he'll have to leave Meghan in America. The British royals can't stand the sight of her. But now even a solo arrangement for Harry is vanishingly unlikely after the extraordinary saga that turned a supposed confidential London meeting into an embarrassing circus.
For the first time in what feels like forever, Prince Harry is making headlines not because of family feuds, legal battles, or glitzy media projects, but because of a bold solo move that's turning heads across the globe. The Duke of Sussex has stepped out on his own, away from the media presence of Meghan Markle, and into something far deeper: his past, his purpose, and possibly his redemption. The question buzzing through royal circles and public commentary alike: is Prince Harry quietly rebooting his image? Without Meghan, it all began with a powerful journey: Harry's emotional and symbolic solo trip to Angola. The visit wasn't just a diplomatic nod to royal duties. It was deeply personal. It was intentional, and it was unmistakably a statement. This was the same place where, nearly 3 decades ago, Princess Diana walked through a minefield wearing a vest and visor, changing the world's awareness about the dangers of landmines. Now, her son retraced her exact steps, standing in the same perilous terrain, alone. No entourage, no wife, no cameras rolling for a series. Just Harry, in protective gear, staring down the skull and crossbones signs that still litter the landscape of Quito Carnivale. The images were haunting. The resemblance to Diana's historic visit was uncanny, and it wasn't by accident. Harry, long known for his emotional connection to his mother's legacy, wanted to make a point. The visit, now being described as a landmark moment, was followed up by an official statement on the couple's website. It confirmed the purpose of the trip: to honor Diana's legacy, highlight the critical work of the Halo Trust, and bring global awareness to the continued danger of landmines in southern Africa. The message was clear, but what wasn't said spoke just as loudly.
But hold on. See what's got.
Amazing how big it is.
Yes.
There was no mention of Meghan Markle, no dual appearance, no joint video. This wasn't a Sussex event. This was Harry, solo, reminding the world of who he was long before the Montecito mansions and Spotify headlines. And just like that, speculation exploded. Royal experts, including Sky News' Rhiannon Mills, began connecting the dots. Mills suggested we may be witnessing something bigger than a solo charity trip. With other headlines this week, she said, "I couldn't help but feel like we could be looking at the beginning of a reset for Harry." She added that his new team seems to be carefully, almost cautiously, attempting to reposition him, bringing him back to the kind of engagements that once defined him, years before he stepped back from royal duties. The word reset has now taken on a life of its own, and it's not hard to see why. Since stepping down as a working royal in 2020, Harry and Meghan have crafted a joint identity rooted in their shared projects, documentaries, interviews, and a podcast empire that fizzled almost as quickly as it launched. Meghan, in particular, has pivoted towards Hollywood deals, fashion ventures, and even a rumored return to blogging. But Harry, he's been quieter until now. This solo trip to Africa signals a potential rebrand, one that doesn't rely on Meghan's media-savvy persona or their polarizing public narrative. Instead, Harry seems to be returning to the kind of work that once made him one of the most beloved royals in modern history. His time in the military, his co-founding of the Invictus Games, his early advocacy for mental health. These were the parts of Harry the public rooted for. The passionate, purpose-driven prince following in his mother's footsteps. And the timing? Intriguing. Just days before his Angola trip, Harry's aides were spotted meeting with King Charles's aides. That raised more than a few royal eyebrows. Could this be the beginning of a soft reconciliation? Or is it simply about keeping lines of communication open as Harry charts his next chapter? Either way, insiders suggest the Angola visit was a calculated move to realign Harry's public image with something more meaningful and maybe even more palatable to the royal institution he left behind. What's undeniable is how effective the move has been. International headlines praised the trip. Social media lit up with rare positivity. Even some of Harry's most vocal critics acknowledged that this is the version of the Duke people miss: committed, compassionate, and untethered from tabloid drama. Of course, Meghan's absence did not go unnoticed. The Duchess of Sussex, often front and center in joint appearances, remained in California. Her focus appears to be elsewhere, on brand development, upcoming projects, and perhaps even a return to acting or lifestyle content. Some sources close to the couple claim this was always the plan: divide and conquer. Let each of them focus on their individual strengths. But others whisper about a growing strategic distance, a quiet shift in how the Sussexes present themselves to the world. That distinction is important. For years, the brand was built on their togetherness. Now they seem to be deliberately crafting separate lanes. Meghan is establishing her media presence, while Harry is reconnecting with his roots. Whether this signals a professional evolution or a more personal separation is unknown, but the shift is real. And while Harry's trip was stirring, it wasn't without risk. The minefields of Angola aren't just a physical danger, they're symbolic terrain too. Stepping into Diana's legacy comes with immense emotional weight, but Harry handled it with sincerity and restraint. He wasn't there for a headline. He was there for a cause. And that distinction is perhaps what's making his reset feel so refreshing. Still, not everyone is convinced. Critics argue that the visit served as a well-timed distraction from other issues looming over the Sussexes: their declining public favorability, ongoing legal battles with British media, uncertainty around their production deals, and the continuing frost with Prince William, which shows no signs of thawing. Yet even those critics can't ignore the emotional resonance of the Angola trip and the way it's reshaped Harry's current narrative. Inside palace walls, reactions are mixed. Some royal courtiers reportedly welcome this more grounded, purposeful version of Harry. Others remain skeptical, cautious about what comes next. Will this lead to more solo ventures, a soft return to royal charity work, a behind-the-scenes reconciliation with his father? Or is this a one-time move to shift public perception before the next media rollout? What we do know is this: Prince Harry is reintroducing himself to the world, not with glitz, not with scandal, but with intention. This version of Harry, the one in dusty boots, walking alone through a dangerous minefield, honoring his mother's legacy, is perhaps the closest we've seen to the real him in years. And maybe that's the point. In a world of staged moments and carefully edited images, authenticity cuts through like nothing else. Whether this marks a full-scale reset or a carefully placed piece in a longer strategy, one thing is certain: Harry's walking his own path again. Not as a prince seeking a throne, not as a husband standing in a media spotlight, but as a man reclaiming his purpose. And in doing so, he might just be finding his way back to the very heart of who he's always been.